Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns and Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and it is another Martial Monday. Today, we're going to be discussing the fighter subclass Echo Knight.
Echo, 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 echo. But it's
That's
like
not what this does.
not really, not even a little bit actually. This is from Explorer's Guide to Wildmount, which in my heart I don't feel like is canon D&D, but is because it was Critical Role's expansion book. But I don't know how the designers overlapped, but they printed it anyway, and it's like Wizards official. Listen, I'm just saying if you want to use the structured game about it first, that's an easy place to always start with these kinds of things. I think this one's pretty baller though. This gives you basically a second location to kind of fight from. It positions you to have this Eldritch clone, this Echo, this nifty little reflection of you that runs around and only has a hit point, but you can do some pretty cool things with it, and it gives you a lot of flexibility in a way that I really think fighters desperately needed, both in and out of combat, which I think really what sets Echo Knight apart from a lot of the other archetypes is what Echo Knight brings to the table isn't a robust list of new spells. It doesn't give you a whole bunch of different features to pick from, but instead gives you a uniquely and specifically powerful element, a new sort of mechanic to play around with that they really dig into and that you can dig into to have an absolute blast of time with it, I think.
Okay, I didn't know this was a Critical Role thing.
Yeah,
I
it's
uh,
from Explorer's Guide to Wildmount.
I had this whole theory built up to like Larry came into came into Wizards of the Coast after a long weekend. He was hungover. He turned in on a crumpled sheet of paper. It's like, all right, here's my fighter subclass, and it was champion. And his boss just went off on him. He said, "You make me an interesting fighter subclass, or you're fired." And he went home and it took a week and made Echo Knight. But that's not what happened.
Why Echo Knight specifically?
Because this is an actual like more
Awesome archetype.
interesting. Yeah,
Mm,
yeah. This is what you do if your job is on the line, and
gotcha.
you just made champion.
Absolutely. That's a fair point. So the first thing you get out of this that is sort of the heart of the option is called Manifest Echo. So you use a bonus action to magically manifest an echo of yourself in a space you can see within 15 feet of you. It lasts until it is destroyed, or you dismiss it as a bonus action, or until you manifest another echo or you're incapacitated. What's really, really, really important about this feature, it has an unlimited amount of uses. There is no limitation to the number of echoes you can produce, and it is produced with a bonus action, which means you can just willy-nilly throw off these reflections left, right, and center however you want to. Wherever you need them to be within 50 feet of you, you can get one within 15 feet of you as long as you're not super dedicated to bonus action. And notably makes 2-weapon fighting work with this option, though, so 2-weapon fighters don't marry beautifully well to Echo Knights. The Echo has an AC of 14 plus your proficiency bonus, a single hit point, and immune to all conditions. If it makes a saving throw, it uses your bonuses. If it's the same size as you, it occupies its... If it is the same size of you and occupies its space. On your turn, you can mentally command the Echo to move 30 feet in any direction. If your Echo's ever more than 30 feet away from you, it's destroyed. So basically, it has to be tethered within 30 feet of you out the gate. And it has an AC and hit point. Most monsters will opt to ignore trying to kill it because it's so ineffective to do so, right? Knowing that you can just bring one up next round makes it a huge waste of actions to ever spend time hitting these things. It can do more, though. So as a bonus action, you can teleport, magically swapping places with your Echo at the cost of 15 free different movement, regardless of the distance between you two. This is particularly cool because you can summon it within 15 feet of you, which kind of gives you a 2-round teleport as long as the teleportation distance is less, like the total space you can't get to is 15 feet across. It kind of gives you like a free way, like you can jump halfway across a ravine, throw down the Echo, and as long as you don't hit the ground, like you can get to a spot that's within 30 feet of it without falling all the way to your death, just teleport it back up there and be with it. Use a rope or whatever, hang off the side however you need to. As long as you can keep within 30 feet of you, you can kind of do some cool things to use this as teleportation magic. Whenever you take the attack action on your turn, any attack you make with that action can originate from you or the Echo space, which is neat. It's not that great, but it's neat. I'm a big fan of this little feature. It lets you kind of have flexibly different controlling locations. It's almost always like strategically advantageous to gang up on one thing at a time, though, so it makes like the value of having a second option to fight from not as super relevant, but it's nice to have. Additionally, when a creature you can see within 5 feet of your echo moves at least 5 feet away from it, this is where its position matters most, you can use your reaction to make an opportunity attack against that creature. That is... It means you can just stick this down somewhere, and you threaten that space. You run up to something, hit it with a great sword, throw your echo behind it and the advancing enemy, and either they hit the echo, wasting actions, they leave its space without disengaging, giving you a free attack roll, or they take their action disengaging and then move on to you anyway. It's a win-win-win, and it only costs you a bonus action, and then you can move it around and do other things with it, like we've already discussed, teleport between it. All put together with just Manifest Echo. This is an out-of-combat utility tool that massively empowers your fighter. It's an in-combat, interesting decision tool to get cool locations and care about battle map positioning in a very meaningful way. And it all coalesces around using a bonus action in an interesting, engaging way. This is a home run of a feature as far as I'm concerned. I adore Manifest
Echo. This is still the first feature, yes.
Yep.
Yeah, this is level 3.
This is the first of the 2 third-level features, because there's another one. There's also Unleash Incarnation. So also at 3rd level, you can heighten your Echo's Fury. Whenever you take the attack action, you make 1 additional melee attack from the Echo's position, and you can use that a number of times equal to your Con mod, and you get all uses when you finish a long rest. So this is a additional combat boon on top of the opportunity attack location sort of placement that gives you normally 2, and then in the upper tiers 3 or 4 attacks from your the Echo's location per long rest. This is going to feel at its most potent at 3rd level. At 3rd level, when you get this thing, oh my god, it's like all of a sudden I have 2 extra attacks just for free. It's like a Ward of Minclair, just stapled to an already bonkers good feature. Delicious, love this, incredible. What are your thoughts? What are you doing with this?
I mean, you just spent like 15 minutes talking and said, "There's nothing I can add to this." I mean, yes, all that. That's what I'm doing.
This is like
threatening spaces, I'm getting in faces and teleporting all over the place and getting some extra attacks.
I really do want a Echo Knight whose mercenary tagline is threatening spaces, or punching faces and threatening spaces. I think that's a great tagline for an Echo Knight fighter. That's very good. This option is kind of notorious at this point because of how powerful it is and how miserable a DM can feel trying to manage it, especially whenever you're going from when you go from the base level PHP options of Battle Master, of Champion, to these very linear, pretty clear-cut options to something that is this dynamic. It is a whole different game you have to start playing. This is genuinely the kind of archetype where you're like, oh god, I have to actually account for the fighter now? What? I thought I only had to care about the spells that were being taken. Now I have to worry about the fighter's features? How could this be? It is on that axis of play. It's really yucky good. 7th level gives us Echo Avatar. So starting at 7th level, you can temporarily transfer your consciousness to your Echo. As an action, you can see through your Echo's eyes and hear through its ears. During this time, you're deafened and blinded. You can sustain this effect for up to 10 minutes, and you can end it at any time. When it is being used this way, it can move to 1,000 feet away from you without being destroyed. And again, there's no limitation to uses on this. This can just happen every time you've got an Echo out. This is desperately what I wanted fighters to be getting. This is a out-of-combat, high-utility feature that works to do exactly what you would want it to. It gives you some new access to confront the world with. It lets your shadowy, translucent copy of yourself be up to 1,000 feet away from you, scouting safely with no fear. This is like access to a familiar that looks like you. It's, oh my god. It's not... I loved it thematically. It isn't bananas bonkers powerful, but it is certainly very nice to have on a fighter that otherwise is just limited to whatever the core fighter gets as far as their out-of-combat utility and assisting the party goes.
This Echo, it's not not ethereal or anything, right?
It has AC 14 and a hit point, so it is physical. It can't walk through walls or anything.
Okay, that was going to be my question.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, just normal exploration, but still really cool. 1,000 feet. And now, does it look like you, or does it look like the shadow version of you? Will you look like, if you use this for exploration, like in a city, are you just going to look like a fighter walking around, or are you going to look
the Echo is magical translucent? Is a magical translucent gray image of you, so it will be clear that it is an Echo.
Right.
Another thing that we haven't touched on. As a bonus action, you can teleport, magically swapping places with your Echo at a cost of 15 feet of your movement, regardless of the distance between the two of you. Which means, while using Echo Avatar, As long as you're using your action each of your turns to move it around, you can now teleport to whatever location the Echo managed to move towards should you desire to do so. Which is so freaking cool. You can set yourself up to have your Echo go out safely scouting, run through the traps, set all that crap off, and then once it gets to where you want to be, swap places. Easy peasy. And you're right where you need to be, and you can take over as if you were there the first time. It's such a cool feature. Got it. It fairly niche, but I love it.
Going across a rickety bridge, you're not sure if you're going to make it.
Send the Echo.
Then him. Yep. Then
absolutely.
Yeah. Then teleport because you're he made it. I still don't trust that bridge.
Yeah. Why bother? You just be like, yeah, I'll just go to where it is now. It's fine. I'll just summon another one whenever I need to. Shadow Martyr is at 10th level, so at 10th level you can make your Echo throw itself in front of an attack directed at another creature that you can see before the attack roll is made. You can use your reaction to teleport the Echo to an unoccupied space within 5 feet of the targeted creature. The attack roll that triggered the reaction instead is made against your Echo. And there's like no saves or anything attached to this. It just is made against your Echo as your reaction. So now every round, as a bonus action, you can create an Echo, do all the things that the Echo would want to be doing with it. It still can provoke the attackers, which should do with your reaction if you like. Alternatively, you can just throw it around to someone else, block an attack with it, you get it back once per short rest. That's pretty good. You have this extra option now to block a critical attack whenever you need to. I wish it has a little bit more than once per short rest, but there's already a lot of powerful things going on here that it doesn't need to be much more than once per short rest. Reclaim potential is... Oh, go for it.
Oh, I still wanted to ask one more thing about Echo Avatar.
Sure.
Do you think there's any kind of synergy between this and the Talisman Warlock, their teleport talisman thing?
There has to be, right? Like,
Yeah.
anytime you're doing this kind of janky teleportation, there's going to be some interesting thing to do with it. I think the core issue with Echo Avatar is your summoned your Echo can really only get where you could get, but it has to, that is beyond 15 feet from you, right? So like you summon it 15 feet away from you, that is where it sort of can extend beyond your ranges of normal capacity of accessing, and then moving it around, it can only really move around mundanely as you could. So you are in this kind of circumstance where you're heavily limited by your own physical limitations still. That being said, whenever you're also using Talisman to teleport back and forth between places, I can imagine this being some elaborate, absurd scenario that's way overly complicated that a dimension door just would solve all of the problems from on its own, but you could set all this up at will using Echo Avatar and Talisman stuff. You could have a really fun teleporty blinky character if you can get to like 18th level with Warlock and Talisman because of all the prerequisites that it has and all of the cool features that come with both.
Oh, I'm talking about 2 different characters.
Oh, sure. Yeah, in the same party, probably a blast.
Yeah, the Warlock gives the Echo his talisman. So, all right, go over there, and then we're both going to teleport that way.
Yeah, the Echo runs off, gets to the spot where you need to go. You teleport to your Echo. When the moment your buddy sees the Echo teleport like appear where you were, they go, "Great! Now I teleport to the talisman." And you just pew, 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 pew.
Good times. Anyway, let's go on. Reclaim potential.
You've learned to absorb this 15th level. Notably, there are no absent features here, which I hate is something that is important. Every level you get a feature, even if, Shadow Martyr is just okay. You've learned to absorb the fleeting magic of your Echo. When an Echo of yours is destroyed by taking damage, like can be with Shadow Martyr, you gain a number of temporary HP equal to 2d6 plus your con mod, provided you don't already have temp HP. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your con mod and get all when you finish a long rest. This basically gives you a bunch of extra temp HP, similar to a second wind. It's fine. I don't love this. This is not it. Legion of 1 is the 18th level feature, though, so this says you can use a bonus action to create 2 Echoes with your Manifest Echo feature, and these Echoes can coexist. If you can try to create a third Echo, the previous 2 are destroyed. Anything you do from one Echo's position can be done from the others. In addition, when you roll initiative and you have no further uses of your Unleash Incarnation feature, that's the one that gives you the extra tax equal to con mod, you get 1 back. So it has all the problems that the Nova options like this kind of have. Honestly, if I'm playing this, I'm probably dipping out at 11th level once I get my third attack, because Reclaim Potential and Legion of 1 are fine, but they're not the bulk of the power here. The bulk of the power here is Manifest Echo, and it's so good and so condensed. you can easily take 5 levels of Echo Knight and do some pretty busted magic stuff alongside it with full casters as a multi-class option and have an absolute blast. It's strong enough that it'll carry you through most of the game to even get to the upper tiers where you'll get the extra temp HP boost, you'll get the extra Shadow Martyr defensive option, you'll get Legion of One for some amount of flexibility, controlling down now 2 spaces with the reaction. You're still limited to 1 reaction around, so it's only, it can only be so good, but still, it is pretty solid across the board. I really wish Legion of One let you, upgraded your Unleash Incarnation to attack from both their locations, as opposed to just doing the one attack from the location. It being from just one is eh.
Now, Legion of One.
Yeah.
So do you get to use your Echo avatar to go exploring 2 different places at the same time, or can you only use one set of eyes and ears?
That's a really good question, and this is how you know this wasn't at least this to me signals clearly the designers weren't the same ones that work in Wizards' normal departments. To me, maybe I'm wrong, but there very clearly is I have no idea what extends through Legion of One, and you're definitely going to have to go on Twitter rabbit holes to figure all this out. So I would rule based on it that anything that happened, all of the features that affect one Echo still just affect one Echo. If they all of a sudden do affect both, do they go to the same location? Can you only move them in the same pattern? Your DM's gonna have to figure it out. I would say that there are probably deep Twitter threads that go into the actual logistics of it. I'm sure Jeremy Crawford has been asked an unending amount of questions about how all these things relate, because just looking through them, I don't have any answers for you, right? When Unleash Your Incarnation says when you take the attack action, you can make 1 additional attack from the Echo's position. If I have 2 Echoes, does that mean I'm getting 2 attacks, or do I still only get 1 attack from an Echo's location? Do I get an attack from each Echo's location because of how that feature works, or no?
Well, this said anything you do from one Echo's position can be done from the others instead, not together.
Right. I would say it is unclear still. I would say that it isn't particularly well worded in every way, shape, or form. It is definitely a lot cooler and better if it does happen. Both of them do both of the things, and definitely is more fitting for an 18th level feature. If that's not the case, it's substantially worse and really mainly fluff that gives you the extra use of Unleash Incarnation back every fight, which is still just kind of bad. As we've talked at length why those kinds of features, that you get a dice back after at the beginning of each fight, aren't that great. This is the exact same reason where it's you already are pretty good at staggering these out, or whenever you're going to be resting, so you really don't need this kind of resource regeneration mechanic.
Yeah, I feel I'm not crazy about Legion of One, but I think that could be because I haven't really put my mind into how it could be abused. I think it might have some potential there.
So the 2 extra Echoes basically are just zones of attacks of opportunity that you can teleport and attack between. So it does offer you more flexibility of what you can target. They both still have to be within 30 feet of you. The range of this hasn't been extended unless you're using Echo Avatar, in which case once you're done at using your actions at Echo Avatar, it'll dissipate. So you're still majorly hamstrung in the department of where these can go. So especially in the upper tier fights, whenever battle maps are very large and very complicated, there's already been some diminishing returns on Manifest Echo, and this really, I don't see empowering it in any way, shape, or form. That being said, I haven't played with it, so maybe it is a lot better than it reads. I would guess it's not that great.
All right, well, you know what? This is a fighter class. It does one thing, and it keeps improving upon it, and I appreciate that.
I agree. I think if they're going to do fighter options, they have to have out-of-combat utility, and this certainly does. They have to have in-combat empowerment, and this certainly does. And that makes it so this is a pretty solid option, I think. I don't love that it does struggle a little bit in that it doesn't support ranged options that well. This definitely wants to be done with a longsword and sword, or longsword and shield, or with a greatsword, or with, some polearm stunt nonsense, right? If you can get extra reactions, it's a lot better. If you can make reactions an opportunity attacks against multiple different things in a round, it's very, very good. I think that's probably where it's at its strongest. Any kind of build that can give you more attacks opportunity will make those Echo locations feel back-breaking to deal with, just because you can make attacks opportunity from 3 different locations. You can now control, if you got a polearm, you can now control 30 feet around, or 20 feet around you and 20 feet around 2 other locations, and that's just a huge sweeping area. So the I'm sorry, it does specify that it has to be within 5 feet of your echo, so it only controls 10 feet around your echo, not the whole. If you're using reach weapons, you still get the benefit of the reach. Your echoes do not. That's a small important caveat to mention, but still, I think I really, really, really love Unleash Incarnate and Manifest Echo. I think they're everything I would want a 3rd level feature. I think Echo Avatar is a very, very cool expansion. It takes what I would want this option to be doing and gives it a natural extension out of combat and some extra utility. You got extra tech 2 levels prior. You're getting a bunch of ability score improvements for feats and stuff. All of it lines up great. Then Shadow Martyr comes and you get 1 block per short rest. And I'm like, oh, I really thought that was going to say more than 1. And then you get to reclaim potential. And I'm like, okay, it's some temp HP. That's fine, I guess. And it's gated in its limits, even though things aren't regularly attacking these echoes. So that's not incredible. And then you get to the Legion of 1, and I'm like, all right, this is probably just nothing. So I think it probably does peter out. I probably don't want to take 20 levels of this ever. You probably, with how good Manifest Echo and Unleash Organization is, I'm sure you can play this 20 levels and have a blast with the whole time. Still, probably better for multi-classing. I still think it probably, because it doesn't hit its potential in the upper tiers, I don't feel comfortable giving this like a full A. I still think it probably deserves a B.
B is not bad. And yeah, I can't argue with that. B sounds about right.
If I'm way off base commenters, let me know. Like, tell me Legion of 1, how busted it is. Show me what the feat paths are and all that fun stuff. I always love to learn about these things. I know there are a ton of builds online where DMs go, I have no idea how to deal with this character. So it's got to be somewhat busted.
Yeah, I'd like to know how to make effective use of Legion of 1 as well, because I think there's potential there. But if there's not, I appreciate this for being a multi-class friendly subclass, because it's nice when you get a couple powerful things right there in the beginning, and then you don't feel bad about missing out on stuff later on. That's cool for multi-class options.
Yeah, I can definitely envision a lot of characters that their top end is 11 levels of fighter for the 3 attacks, and then you got 9 levels to play with, which is normally 3 levels and 3 different classes to get their subclass, their first subclass features, and you can do a lot of cool little munchkin min-maxing stuff with that. It can be a really fun time to design. Now, granted, that 20 level character almost never comes to fruition, but an 11th level Echo Knight still sounds like a blast to play, so I'm in for that.
Right. Well, that was Echo Knight. Thank you, Sam, and thank you everyone for joining us. Let us know what you think down in the comments, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it. A gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.